Welcome everyone to the Goddess Temple. My name is Chris, and for today's video, what I have coming through is this desire to truly be liberated, especially with this seasonal change. Whether it's being liberated from going within or from experiencing the world outside of you, right? To plant these seeds. Uh, it depends on where you are on this earth geographically, just because either you might be going through spring or you might be going through fall. And so, stepping into this place of transition, of settling into yourself, and of noticing that you're ready for this transformation. And whether it's that you um, ascend or you go deeper within, right? Whichever path that you take, you are guided in that direction. And you're being asked to really take a look at yourself, take a look at where you've been, why you've made the choices you've made, why you've shifted in the way that you've shifted. And so the more you keep stepping into this place of shifting through your inner workings, through your inner stories, it also makes you question and ask about the way you've showed up recently, especially since the new year started. It's already 4 months in, right? But 4 months in, 3 months completely um, navigated through it, really set the tone for the rest of the year. And so, in this time, that whether you're going within or you are taking more external action, so going without, whichever direction that you're moving towards, you're being asked to actually reflect on where you are. And I have a feeling that when you do watch this, either it may be a little bit off of, uh, you might not be in this transitional season, but either way, when you see this, it's truly reflecting on your internal transition that's happening. And you're stepping from one way of navigating to as to shifting through to the next phase of your life. And so the more you keep shifting through, the more you keep seeing yourself for who you are, to reflecting on how you've showed up, to understanding better that what you're asking from this world, what you're asking from yourself is a little bit more depth. You are requiring more depth, more abundance, more aliveness, more reciprocity, not just from yourself, but also from people around you. You're seeing that where and how people are choosing to ignore and dismiss you, and that you're saying that I am not standing for that anymore because that means that I have been uh, mistreating myself and not actually keeping myself in alignment to what it is that I want to manifest and create. And so you're being asked to reflect on this. You're being asked to uh, see better what it is, to see with clarity, right? To reflect enough to see with clarity, to be shown with clarity, to have courage to actually see and reflect on the way that you've been showing up. And it's not just an individual transition that's happening, it's actually a collective transition that's currently happening. And it's been taking place for these months. Uh, and it's just now it's that much more potent. It's asking you what are the actions that you're going to take, what are the actual changes that you're taking, and how are you going to choose differently, how are you going to show up differently, what are the ways that you're going to hold people accountable for the way that they step into your space, for the way that you even step into your space. How are you going to keep yourself accountable? How are you going to respond to people that do ask you that? And you're also building this resilience to uh, artfully communicate with people around you, to draw boundaries, and to say, to not like shut someone out right away, but to tell them, hey, take a step back, and I am more than happy to have this conversation with you. I'm more than happy to guide you and move through this in this way. So, but take a step back and we can have that conversation. We can meet each other respectfully. If you want me to meet you respectfully, then this is what I require as well. And so it's that reciprocity for the way that you're stepping into this world, to the way that you're stepping into your life. This is your life as much as it is community in this world, and there's this collective and this oneness that it does exist. It's the physical practice of it that solidifies. That's what's solidifying. That's what's changing, is that without your consciousness, so if in your subconscious mind, you are being asked to navigate through your world differently. And so you are moving through that little space of moving through your world differently, of moving through yourself differently. And you're only going to understand and see what you don't see unless either you ask, or you're going to be pushed to actually see. You're going to be cornered in a way to see it and forced to deal with it, because at the end of the day, you are also part of this world. You are a part of this one collectiveness, and so from being a part of this one collective, you are requiring to sustain yourself, to be strong enough so you can still coexist, so you can exist and transform and move through with this bigger picture, this bigger ideology, these bigger stories, and these smaller stories. So your internal world is vital for you to implement yourself and be a so-called um, what is it? A so-called valuable member. I'm saying that with a little bit of sarcasm, just because we are always inherently valuable, and yet we feel like we are only useful or valuable when someone has a need from us. And the thing is, you're always gonna need someone, and to some degree, and a service in some degree. And so it's just that people have different ways of providing that service, or or of being supportive. And so whichever way, you're always going to find your way around that. It's just a natural way that we operate as humans, right? Look at our pets that we have, right? They just exist, and however they're so fed, and they understand that, hey, our human you know needs that love, needs that presence, needs that support. And so guess what, they show up, right? They show up unconditionally. They show up with a consistent habit practice. And for a lot of you, sometimes your pets have showed up during your darkest times, and they help you heal, right? And the same with other humans too. We have that capacity to do just that. And there's a little bit more to it, right? Every being, every creature has a life to it, has a purpose, holds a certain set of values. And it's quite magical the way that this earth works, that this planet works, and that we as creatures living on this planet, that we operate and function the way humans are. It's vitally different from any other galactic species. If anything, other galactic species had to operate differently and transform their physicality, and they're not fully human anymore. There's that little component. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is that savor what it is that you're here to do. Savor yourself, savor the life that you're living. Yes, it may, for some, it may be quite painful and triggering and challenging to navigate through your current life. I hope that this message, I hope that these words are here to support you and to guide you. At the same time, it should not be replacing professional help. It should not be replacing community. You do need that. You know, you absolutely need community to a certain degree. And the thing is, you can actually create your own community. And we're currently living in that time that we are creating community not because out of only necessity, but out of choice. And we're understanding that, oh, wait, we can actually choose. It doesn't have to be something, that we're forced to do anymore, or because we're feeling so displaced that we create a community. It's that genuinely, it's like, oh, I actually want to experience this type of communing and this type of lifestyle. And so I am going to lean into that and create that. And we're understanding there's more and more choice. It's less about, I'm repeating myself again, but yeah, so really lean into yourself and truly understand what you're here to experience. That there's nothing wrong with actually uh, feeling like you're forced to make certain changes in your life, and that uh, your arm is your hands are tied and you're blindfolded and you're being forced to choose a certain way of being, certain way of existing, certain like choices that you make. They're more primitive in nature, and so it's not wrong. However, it's not the only way, and at the same time, you won't keep making these primitive choices, these forced choices, because you're practicing how to experience life differently. You're practicing how to embody yourself with more reverence and to become artful in the way that you live your life, in the way that you heal, in the way that you navigate through this world, and that you are inherently worthy of living such an abundant and extravagant and full life, that just because your choice may not be a choice that someone makes, it doesn't mean that you're not strong enough, or that your choice is damaging someone else. To a certain degree, your choices don't damage someone. However, what you don't see and how you affect and impact the people around you, there's ways to navigate through it. And you will only see that when you actually step in and continue to correct the course. And the thing is, we as humans have been operating from such primitive ways of living. There's cities and what is it, landscapes that we've just completely transformed and what is it, dismantled and put back together in the way that makes sense for us, and that feels more um, what is it, usable, more accommodating for our needs. And at the same time, we're realizing now that the amount of effect that that's had and the quality of life that the way that has impacted, and the way that it's impacted us, and for us to actually choose differently, and that it's not completely reversible. We went down a rabbit hole and now we're coming back out of it, as a collective, as a community, as human species that exist on this earth. We are coming back out of it, and we are evolving. The evolution of a species is, it's looking different, and we are becoming more and more conscious on a collective, on a holistic level, we are becoming more conscious, and for that consciousness, it does require us to actually see more and more evil or more and more disruption or distortedness that we're faced with, and we are actively being asked to move through it, to correct it within ourselves, because it does allow us to make different choices. And we show up in front of other people differently because we see the impacts of that uh, of that density, of that fear-based mind that we've operated from, of that survival instinct that we've operated from. To a certain extent, the survival mind has kept us safe and alive for as long as it did. At the same time, we're also starting to realize that Earth itself is not our enemy, and that other humans are not our enemy either. It's just the way we operate is different from one another because of what's required and what's being asked and um, spoken through this land, and the way the land actually integrates with us and communes with us. And just like we have a consciousness, this land has a consciousness too. Every land, every pulse around the world is different. And so the way that we've built our cities all vary, the way the cultures are all different. And there's so much beauty in that. There's aspects of ourselves, there's these fractals that we're getting to know, and we're becoming comfortable with the fact that there is difference. That even in this difference, that there, even in this polarity, that it doesn't mean death. It doesn't mean only death and destruction, but that there is life. We, as a community, as a human species on this earth, are starting to realize that there is life available for us to create, to give more, to be more, to thrive. Um, yeah, I feel like that's where I'm going to be leaving off, and I really hope that this motivated you in some way, or kind of soothed some of the thoughts and questions that you may have had. Um, yeah, I'm going to be leaving this year. I wish you guys all the best, and I will be speaking to you soon.